Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is the story about Naruto. What if Naruto trained by Anko? Movie 15. Hope you'll enjoy this video. So before we start, please do support for more awesome content and also hit the subscribe button and share this video with your friends and also support the creator of this fanfic. I have created a playlist where you can find out all the previous parts of this video, link in the description, and check out the other video as well. So let's start the video. No place like home. Please sign here, here, and here. The lady at the front desk said with a smile. So far the day had been going very well, and in her opinion, if the morning went well the rest of the day would be a breeze. So when young Uchiha Sasuke came to get released from the hospital, she was only too happy to help. Sasuke mumbled a thank you before signing the necessary forms and left the hospital as fast as he could. He was there for way too long for his liking. If it was up to him he would have left a few days ago, but he was closely watched by the medic nins. Now however he was free, and he could start training again. After being defeated so easily by his brother, he knew that he couldn't afford to lose any more time. He remembered Kakashi saying that he was to join the rest of the genin at the training grounds when he was released. So with high expectations he dropped by his place to get a fresh set of clothes and his shinobi equipment before heading to the grounds. When he approached the grounds he could hear the sounds of people training and practicing, so he didn't have to look very long to find them. He had hoped to be able to observe them a bit, but that plan went out the window when Kakashi turned around and called him over. Annoyed, he joined Kakashi and the other Jounin sensei. "Ah Sasuke, welcome back," Kakashi said while closing his orange book. "How are you feeling?" "Fine I guess," Sasuke said while looking at the genin training. "Good, it seems you're eager to join them." "That's good, but first I'll explain how things work around here," Kakashi said. The other Jounin sensei let Kakashi do the talking, as he was Sasuke's squad leader anyway. Kakashi told him about how the morning was scheduled and what kind of training he would be doing. Also he once again warned Sasuke not to use the Sharingan on his teammates. Sasuke nodded his understanding, but his displeasure was written all over his face. Kakashi then called a little break so Sasuke could get reintegrated in the group. The other genin, who was glad to get a little break, saw Sasuke standing there and yelled at him to come over to them. They had promised that they would give him a chance to prove himself. It took a lot of convincing for some of them, but in the end they agreed that he deserved a chance. He was, after all, a fellow Konoha shinobi, and therefore they would have to learn to work with each other. Sasuke walked over to the group feeling a bit out of place, but he ignored the feeling. "Hey Sasuke, it's good to see you in good health again," Naruto said, trying to break the ice a bit. "I hope you're ready to get some serious training done because Guy-sensei is one heck of a slave driver." "I guess so," Sasuke shrugged. Naruto sighed inwardly. It seemed that getting Sasuke to be one of the gang would be a lot harder than he had expected. The boy seemed hell-bent on shutting everyone out of his life, and this made it very difficult for others to become friends with him. He hoped that he would come around in time. He shrugged and started talking to the rest of the team about their training, hoping they would help involve Sasuke into the conversation. When they came onto the subject of Akatsuki, Sasuke seemed to get some interest and he listened closely. "What is this Akatsuki you're all talking about?" he asked out of the blue. Naruto and the rest then explained what Akatsuki was all about and that they didn't really know their goal. They did tell him that they were being trained to defeat them once they were ready. They wisely refrained from saying anything about Uchiha Itachi, knowing that it was a very sore subject for Sasuke. He nodded when they finished their explanation and he thought it over in his head. Apparently this organization was made up out of Nukenin, and one of them was his brother, just like Kakashi had said. He guessed he could work with the rest of them if they didn't slow him down too much. After the break was over, Kakashi and the other Jounin divided them into groups so they could get started on the next part of the training. Kakashi took his group and went to the other side of the grounds so they wouldn't disturb the others with their ninjutsu training. He asked them who had mastered the Shunshin no Jutsu and who still needed to work on it. Choji and Ino still required some practice, while Sakura wanted to make sure she mastered it before starting on another jutsu. Sasuke, who didn't know the jutsu, stepped forward as well. Kakashi nodded and told them to wait for a moment so he could explain the next jutsu to the rest. "Okay, the next jutsu is the Doton Shinju Zanshu no Jutsu," Kakashi said, showing the hand seals and demonstrating the jutsu. He watched as the genin were trying the hand seals in slow motion before trying the jutsu itself. "Sensei, I already know this jutsu. Is it okay if I practice my Kenjutsu?" Naruto asked. Kakashi just nodded and made his way over to Choji, Ino, Sakura, and Sasuke. After showing them the seals, he helped them where they needed it. Sasuke was a bit peeved that he didn't know such a useful jutsu yet, but vowed to catch up with the rest of them. Even Sakura and Ino had beaten him with this jutsu, and that was something he couldn't allow. So for the rest of the time he performed the jutsu again and again until he got it right. Every once in a while he would glance over to Naruto, and a slight scowl appeared on his face. When it was time to switch groups, he sat down next to Shino. The bug user was one of the genin he could tolerate most of all. The boy was silent and efficient, all qualities he could appreciate in a person. As Kurenai started her lesson on Genjutsu, he cursed once again that he couldn't use his Sharingan. His bloodline limit allowed him to create and see through Genjutsu with ease, so this lesson was a waste of time. Still, he listened and paid attention, hoping that he would learn something useful. The woman in front of him was known as the Konoha's Genjutsu mistresses after all. 2 hours later, Kurenai ended her lesson and told them that she would see them again tomorrow. For the rest of the day they would either have team training or some missions. The genins thanked her for the lesson and went to rejoin the rest of the gang. It had become somewhat an unspoken rule that they all had lunch together, and even the Jounin sensei joined them as well. Sasuke, however, just asked Kakashi when and where to meet for the next part and left to get some food. "Why doesn't he eat with us? Are we not good enough for him?" Kiba asked, a bit mad. "Relax, Kiba, you can't expect him to change that fast. Sasuke has always been a loner, so that won't change so fast. Give it some time," Kakashi said from behind his book. Lunch was an enjoyable time for all of them, as the genin talked about new techniques they had learned or missions they had done, while the Jounin sensei talked about more of the grown-up subjects like the training they were going to give to their students or what was happening in the village. Of course, for some of the boys, lunch break took too long, and they amused themselves with some light sparring and training while the girls continued talking and resting for a bit. After that, the teams split up and each team joined their sensei for team practice or to complete a mission. Today, Kurenai and Anko were planning some training in stealth and tracking, so the team had to track down both women in a predetermined number of hours. Suffice to say that when Anko threatened them with using them as targets if they failed, the 4 genin were pretty motivated. Several hours later, Anko and Kurenai grinned at the exhausted 4 lying on the ground trying to catch their breath. They had barely made it and had saved themselves the pain of being Anko's targets. Nonetheless, they had been pushed to their limits this time, and the result was obvious. When they finally were able to stand up again, Kurenai congratulated them on finding both her and Anko, but told them that it took way too long for her liking. She wasn't disappointed or anything, but she knew they could do much better, and so she considered it her job to tell them just that. She then dismissed them, wishing them a pleasant evening, and each went their own way. Anko and Naruto locked hands and left the training grounds, eager to get home. "Anko-chan, do you want to go check the house?" Naruto asked her. Anko nodded, knowing that Naruto was impatient to see his parents' house, as he had never seen it before. At first she wanted to stay in her apartment, but now she had some time to think about it. She had to admit that living in a house sounded pretty nice. She was a bit worried about how Naruto would react when he saw the house, but she was there with him in case he needed comforting. Naruto smiled and gave her a kiss before they turned towards the district where the house was located. According to Sarutobi, the house could be found in the middle-class district of Konoha. This was because the Namikaze clan wasn't a big or rich clan like the Hyuga or the Uchiha was or were. This didn't matter to Naruto or Anko as long as the house was in good shape. They walked in silence while greeting some of the people who recognized them along the way. The walk from the training ground to the house took about 15 minutes, which was actually a bit closer than Anko's apartment, but the house was a bit further from the business district, which had the market and most of the shops. Still, it would only take a 5-minute walk to reach that, so all things considered the house was very nicely located. When they reached the house, they saw that the house was actually surrounded by a large wall protecting the house from any intruders or unwanted guests. The gate was nothing fancy, but it did the job it was supposed to do. Naruto remembered that he had the special key in his pocket and placed it inside the lock that kept the gate closed to anyone. According to Sarutobi, the key was engraved with a special seal his dad had made. The lock wouldn't open for anything else, and Naruto gladly believed that his father was capable of creating such a seal. He looked at Anko, who smiled and nodded to encourage him. And he turned the key. He had barely touched it, and the gate slowly opened up, revealing the house. Naruto gulped and felt Anko's hand grabbing his and waited for the house to become fully visible. Once the gate was open, they stepped inside and watched how the gate seemed to close automatically behind them. They turned towards the house again and saw a two-storied house that just seemed to invite them in. It wasn't the biggest house they had seen, but it certainly wasn't small either. From the looks of it, the house was big enough to fit in a large family. They walked on the small path that led to the front door and looked at the small garden in the front. It was well kept and beautiful, and Naruto told himself that he would thank Sandaime for caring about the house. The front door had a special lock just like the gate, so Naruto took out his second key, placed it inside, and opened the door. When they stepped inside the house, they found themselves in a hallway with several doors that would lead to the other rooms. Right in front of them was the stairway that leads to the second floor, but they decided to check out the first floor first. At their right was a door that leads to a small bathroom with a toilet and a small washing table with a mirror. It was nothing special, but it was nice and cozy. On their left they found the door to the living room and went inside. The living room was rectangular in shape and had a large sofa, big enough for 4 people, and a smaller one, and between them was a low table that had a few decorative things placed on it. There was a long dresser alongside the wall, and Naruto saw several pictures and photos on it. Slowly he walked over, trying to catch every detail of the room, and grabbed one of the pictures. It was a picture of 3 kids and a white-haired sensei standing behind them. Naruto recognized the blonde boy and knew this was his dad and his team from their genin days. The white-haired man behind them was undeniably Iro Sennin, even if he looked much younger. He put the picture back where he found it and grabbed the one next to it. This one was his dad and his own genin team, and he saw a familiar face in the picture. It seemed Kakashi was born with that mask, as he had already been wearing it at such a young age. Naruto did briefly wonder who were the boy and girl in the picture, but he guessed they had already died or left Konoha, as he didn't know anyone that looked like them. The next picture made him somewhat sad and happy at the same time. It was a picture of his mom and dad holding each other closely, and for the first time Naruto saw what his mother looked like. He had always wanted to know what she looked like, and now he knew. His mom had long fiery red hair and had the most beautiful smile on her face. She was wearing civilian clothes, and she looked absolutely stunning. He couldn't blame his dad for falling in love with such a beauty. It was her eyes that captured Naruto's attention the most. They had the same look of mischief and unpredictability like he had, and he felt good knowing he got this from his mom's side. Anko peered over his shoulders and looked at the picture. "Your mom was a beautiful, Naruto-kun. She looks like an amazing person, doesn't she?" Anko said while hugging Naruto. She could only imagine what Naruto must be feeling at the moment, but she would do her best to comfort him. Naruto just leaned into her embrace a bit before looking at the last picture. When he looked at it, the tears sprang into his eyes and a small tear escaped. The picture showed a heavily pregnant Kushina sitting on a bench with her hands on her huge belly. Her head was on Minato's shoulder, and he held her with love in his eyes. Naruto couldn't help himself, and he let the tears run freely. This was the only picture where the 3 of them were together. Granted, he wasn't born yet, but he was there, even if you couldn't see him. Anko gently took the picture out of his hands and guided him to the sofa where she sat down and hugged him, letting him cry as much as he needed to. Naruto cried into her shoulder just like he did all those months ago in the forest when he first learned of his parents. A good 10 minutes later he felt good enough to continue the tour, but not before he told Anko how much he loved her. The large living room also had a long table that could fit up to 8 people. From the table you could look straight into the kitchen, which was accessible from the room. There was a low wall that separated the kitchen and living room, but no door. The wall marked the beginning of the kitchen that was equipped with everything a standard kitchen needed or had. There was a door that allowed you to go into the hallway and another door that led to a small room for groceries and a freezer. The third door in the kitchen gave out on the garden, which you could see from the kitchen windows. They went back into the hallway and went upstairs. From the stairs you had access to 4 doors. On the right you had 2, one just in front and the last on the left. They took the door on the right first and went inside. The room was big, but not too big, and was painted with soft colors indicating that this would become Naruto's room when he was big enough to sleep alone. Naruto peered inside and saw a bunch of toys lying on the ground, a small bed which was way too big for a baby to sleep in, but he guessed it was intended for later on. He sighed and took one of the toys in his hands. When he had been a kid, he had always wanted a few toys to call his own. In the orphanage where he stayed, all the toys belonged to everyone, and, as he wasn't well liked, he always had to give up the toys he played with. He placed it back with the other toys and stepped outside of the room. The second room was a small office or study with several bookcases and a desk. Anko went over to the desk and took a look in the drawers, but found that they were all empty. Naruto went over to the bookcases and found mostly books on history, politics, and such things. One bookcase that had doors made out of glass, however, seemed to stand out, and when he took a closer look, he saw that there was a seal present. He immediately recognized the seal as a blood seal, just like the ones he had learned from his father's book. Wasting no time, he bit his thumb and smeared a little blood on the seal. A small click alerted him that he could now open the doors. Anko too had come to take a look, and she gasped when she saw a significant number of scrolls neatly stacked inside. Naruto grabbed one and saw that it was a jutsu scroll for a Doton technique called Doton Chijuyari. He read the description and found out that the jutsu created a large number of spears that shot out of the ground upwards. He remembered the necessary hand seals and told himself that he would practice it the next day. Naruto-kun, there are jutsu from every class here. From E-class jutsu to a few S-rank jutsu. Anko said, amazed at the scrolls. We'll check on them later, Anko-chan. Let's leave it for now. Naruto said, feeling a little better. The thought of learning new jutsu seemed to cheer him up a little. Naruto sealed the bookcase again and they left the office. The third door leads to a beautiful, stylish bathroom with a shower and bath. Both of them were big enough to fit two people, and Anko seemed to like the thought very much. Other than that, the room was empty of all other necessities. When he approached the last room, however, Naruto froze. This had to be his parents' room, and he was dreading the emotional rollercoaster that he would experience when he opened the door. Naruto-kun, we don't need to do this right now. We can wait a little bit if you want. Anko said while holding his shaking hand. No, I need to do this. This is something that I have to do, otherwise I'll never have the courage to try again. Naruto whispered. He took hold of the handle and turned it before opening the door. He summoned all his courage and stepped inside with Anko closely following him. The room was big and spacious. There was a large bed and a large closet for what he guessed was his parents' clothes. He approached the bed and his hand trailed along the soft covers. On the night tables there was an alarm clock, though it wasn't plugged in. He opened the closet, and to his surprise a large white cloak with red flames was hanging inside. With shaking hands he took the cloak and inspected it from close by. Your dad used to wear it when he fought and when he was working. Anko told him. She didn't really know the yondaime, as she was still pretty young, but she had heard stories about him. Almost in every story he wore that cloak. It's beautiful. Naruto said while feeling the fabric of the cloak. He wanted to try it on, but he resisted the feeling. He knew he wasn't nearly strong enough to earn the right to wear his father's cloak. One day I'll be strong enough to wear it. I promise, Dad. I'll make you and Mom proud. Naruto silently thought. He then placed it back inside the closet and closed the door. He looked at the other side of the room and saw something that made him break down again. Anko turned to see what had happened, and she too had tears in the corners of her eyes. In the corner of the room stood a white crib, ready to be used at any time. Naruto fell on his knees before it and cried his heart out. Anko jumped towards him and fell on her knees next to him before she hugged him. She could help but start crying as well when she saw her lover in such an emotional state. Together they cried for the loss of two amazing people. They cried for Naruto's childhood without his parents. They cried for Minato and Kushina, who had to leave their little boy behind, and they cried for the time they lost together. It took Naruto almost an hour to calm down again, and when he did he was exhausted. He felt like he had trained with Guy for days, and his body was heavy and hurting. Still, he felt better now that he had dealt with his emotions. He took Anko's hand and they went to the bathroom to get cleaned up a little bit. After they were presentable again, they went downstairs to relax a bit in the garden in the back. It wasn't quite dark yet outside, so they enjoyed the beauty of the Japanese-styled garden. When they found the bench from the picture, they sat down and started talking about moving into the house. I don't think it's a good idea to move in right away. Anko confessed. I know what you mean. I want to, but it's so damn hard. Naruto nodded. I have an idea. Anko said. I propose that we stay at the apartment for now, but that every once in a while we sleep here. That way we can get used to the place and the feeling of living here at our own pace. That's not a bad idea, Anko-chan. Naruto agreed. It would give him the time to make peace with his parents' death and get used to this house. In the end, they decided to spend the weekend in the house while they stayed at the apartment during the week. Over the following months they would slowly move, and by the time Naruto left with Jiraiya they would live here permanently. Naruto didn't want Anko to return to her apartment alone, so she would live here. After they closed the gate they quickly returned home and had dinner. Both of them were tired and emotionally spent, so they went to bed early. When Anko and Naruto met up with Kurenai like they did every morning, Kurenai seemed to notice that something was wrong with Naruto. He was quiet, withdrawn, and seemed to be distracted by something. Even Kiba and his jokes weren't enough to make Naruto smile today, which made Kiba frown, as he told really good jokes. Anko didn't say anything until they reached the grounds, and Naruto started doing his warming up exercises. She pulled the rest of the team to the sides and started explaining what had happened last night. So he's feeling a bit down because the two of you went to his house? Hinata said, feeling a bit sad for her friend. Yes, but don't worry. He'll be fine, he just needs a little time to himself. Anko said while looking at her boyfriend stretching. Just let him be, and he'll talk about when he's ready. The rest of Genin arrived shortly after, and Naruto used Guy's training to push the thoughts of his parents' home out of his mind for the time being. It worked very well as he had to keep pushing to break his limits, and the atmosphere between the Genin helped, as well. He kept on going until he felt that he could go on no more. This in turn pushed the others to keep up with him, and he smiled a bit for the first time that day. When they were ready, he and his friends would be a force to be reckoned with, of that he was sure. While the others were still practicing the Doton Shinyuu's Anshu no Jutsu, he separated a bit from them so he wouldn't bother them when he tried the jutsu he had read about in his father's office. He remembered the hand seals, and like most Doton jutsu he needed to slam his hands onto the ground. He focused his chakra, and his hands made the seals before he exclaimed Doton Chiju Yari. Unfortunately, he seemed to have used way too much chakra, and the area just exploded with spears made of earth. The others felt his chakra spike, and most of them looked on in shock as he performed the jutsu. Luckily, he had taken some distance as the attack spread over a large area. Kakashi seemed to recognize the jutsu from during the war with Iwa and went over to help Naruto out, but first he ordered the others to continue their training. Nice work, Naruto, but it seems you misjudged the necessary amount of chakra needed for that jutsu. Kakashi complimented Naruto. Oh hey Kakashi-sensei, yeah, I just wanted to try it. I read about it last night in one of the scrolls I found in my dad's office. Naruto said sheepishly. I see, so you've visited the house then? Kakashi asked him. Yeah, it wasn't easy, but we made it through. Naruto said a little down. I have some good memories about that place. Kakashi said before he sat next to Naruto. I've been there a couple of times before you were born. Your mom loved that house. She used to tell me that once you were born she would have everything she had ever dreamed of. Anko-chan, and I like the place as well, but for the moment it's too hard to actually live there. He said, sighing. Maybe after a while things will get better and we can move from her apartment to the house. Don't worry about it, Naruto. Take your time. There's no need to rush things. Kakashi told him before getting up. Good work on the jutsu, but try to fine-tune it a bit. You wouldn't want to harm your allies as well as your enemies if you used it. When it was their turn to work with Kurenai, the group called out for Naruto, and he quickly joined them. Genjutsu really was a pain in the butt for him. While he had good chakra control and definitely had the necessary brainpower to create genjutsu, he just couldn't do it properly. He was able to recognize and dispel them easily enough, but using them seemed almost impossible for him. He and Kurenai had discussed the problem before, and she guessed that, because of the bit of Kyuubi's chakra that was mixed with his own chakra, it was just too chaotic or unstable to use. This didn't stop him from learning and listening to everything Kurenai taught them. A few others like Sakura, Ino, and Hinata seemed to be able to create small genjutsu, but seeing as none of them were trying to be a genjutsu user, they wouldn't really progress further than that. Out of the boys, it was Sasuke who seemed to have the most talent in that field, but that could be because of his bloodline. After all, someone with the Sharingan was about the worst possible enemy for someone like Kurenai. The lesson ended with a small test, as she put each one of them under a small genjutsu, and they had to try to notice what was wrong. They performed admirably, and Kurenai was pleased to see their progress. Lunch was once again eaten together with talking and telling stories to each other. Naruto, however, seemed to be interested in how the girls' medic training was going, and he asked Sakura about it. "Sakura, how's that medic and training coming along?" he asked her. "Oh, it's great, we're learning so much. Shizune-san is really nice, but she's strict when it comes to teaching. She makes us read all these books on the human body and how it works." Sakura answered, glad that he was interested in how she was doing. "Must be tough learning all that?" Naruto said, amazed. He could imagine how much time and effort that must take to study all that. "Well, it is hard work, but I enjoy it very much. I can't wait to learn some medical jutsu, but Shizune-san told us that she was forbidden to teach us any jutsu until we passed Tsunade-sama's test on our knowledge," Sakura happily said. "I'm glad you enjoy it, Sakura. I'm sure you'll be an amazing medic nin one day," he assured her. Sakura nodded happily that Naruto believed in her and asked him how he knew the jutsu he had done earlier. Naruto just explained it, and soon Kiba asked if he could learn it as well. Naruto told him that he would ask Kakashi if it was okay, as the jutsu was a C rank and he didn't want to teach anything that wasn't approved first. The jutsu that they had been learning were D ranked, so maybe he wanted to start with that level first. When lunch was over, Kakashi called over Naruto, saying that he was joining them so that his team could complete a C rank mission. Naruto looked at Anko and Kurenai, who nodded. They had been informed that Naruto would have to join Team 7 once in a while, so they too could perform some missions. Naruto didn't seem too happy about it, but there was nothing he could do about it, so he followed Kakashi and Sakura so they could pick up Sasuke along the way to the Hokage Tower to complete their mission. Kakashi, Sakura, and Naruto looked at a fuming Sasuke's back on their way back from the mission. It had been a simple mission, just delivering some documents to a person in a nearby village. Nothing had happened, not even a few bandits, so it was pretty boring. Sasuke, however, was mad that they had to do these kinds of missions while he could be training, or at least do some decent missions instead. Kakashi tried to explain to him again that they would get better missions when they had completed enough low-level C rank assignments, but he wasn't listening. Naruto just shook his head at seeing his temporary teammate. Though he agreed with Sasuke that the mission was boring and not really something he liked to do, he did know that these were necessary. They had received this mission because they didn't have the necessary teamwork yet to do higher-level missions. This was one of Kakashi's pet peeves, so there was no way Kakashi would allow them to take on missions without teamwork. He and Sakura seemed to work well together. She acknowledged him as her superior, as he was a Chunin, and Kakashi had said that in case something happened, Naruto was in charge if he wasn't there himself. Of course, this didn't please Sasuke, and Naruto instinctively knew that he would never accept him as a team leader. Luckily, things had gone great, and after their report they separated and each went their own way. Naruto saw that he still had some time left and hurried over to the training ground, hoping that his team was still there. When he arrived there, he saw that they weren't there anymore, so he just left for home. Walking through the village, he greeted some people who seemed to like him and ignored some of the older folks who still had a fierce dislike of him. He turned around the corner only to bump into someone. He quickly got up and saw that he had run into Tenten. "Hey Tenten, sorry about that. I wasn't paying attention where I was walking," Naruto said. "Help her up." "Don't worry about it, Naruto. Actually, I was looking for you." Tenten smiled at him. "Me? Why are you looking for me?" Naruto asked while dusting his pants. "Treat me to some dango, and I'll tell you," Tenten said while pulling him towards the dango shop. Naruto laughed and followed her to the shop. He knew this shop, as he came here more than once with Anko. She loved dango as much as he loved ramen. As they sat down, the waitress greeted Naruto with a smile and took their order. Tenten didn't say anything until their order arrived, and she quickly scooped up a few of the dango sticks. When she was done eating, she stared at Naruto and started talking. "Teach me," she said. "Sorry? Teach you what? You'll have to be a bit more specific about Tenten," Naruto said while eating a dango as well. "Teach me how to forge my own weapons," Tenten said seriously. "I'm sorry, Tenten, but I can't," Naruto said. "I'd teach you if I could, but the truth is that I'm not really that good at forging." "But you created such a magnificent sword," Tenten questioned him. "How can you say that you're not good at forging?" "I know what you mean," But outside of this sword and those couple of knives I haven't forged anything spectacular," Naruto admitted. He saw the disappointment on her face and his heart called out to her. She was really looking forward to learning how to forge weapons, but he just didn't have the skills or time to teach her. He thought for a minute and got an idea. "Follow me," he ordered her and dragged her away from the shop. He ignored her questions and soon they arrived at Hideki's shop. Tenten followed him inside wondering what had gotten into her friend. She didn't know the shop as it wasn't located anywhere near where she lived or shopped, but she was amazed when she got inside. Her eyes went wide when she noticed all the weapons and shinobi material lined up. She ran over to inspect some of the weapons and she was surprised at how well made they were. "Hideki-san, are you here?" Naruto called out. "Naruto, is that you?" A voice from the back answered before the door opened to reveal Hideki. "What are you doing here? Need anything?" "Nope, not today, but my friend here is in search of your help." He pointed to Tenten. "She asked me to teach her how to forge, but I figured that you're 10 times the teacher I would have been in that department." Hideki looked over at the girl that was currently bouncing through his shop while inspecting and admiring some of the more rare weapons he had on display. He could tell from her excitement that she was a weapon fanatic. If the smile on her face was telling him anything, then it was that this girl loved weapons. He called her over wanting to meet her. "So you like weapons?" Hideki asked her. "Yes sir, I love learning about weapons, and to see all these kinds of rare weapons is just amazing. If I had known about your shop before I would have come here a lot sooner." Tenten nodded. "Well, you're always welcome here to browse a bit, but as for teaching you how to forge, I'm afraid I'll have to refuse," Hideki admitted. "I'm truly sorry, but with opening the shop and my new duty as the head of the civilian part of the council, I wouldn't be able to teach you properly." "I see, I guess I'll have to figure out something on my own then," Tenten said, disappointed. She had hoped that this man could teach her, but it wasn't meant to be. "Isn't there anything you can do, Hideki-san?" Naruto asked again. Tenten is aiming to become Konoha's best weapon mistress after all. "There might be someone who could help her, but you'll have to ask him yourself," Hideki said after thinking for a minute or two. "Naruto, do you remember the old man who gave you that high-quality metal while you were training in the forest?" "Sure, he complimented me on forging my sword," Naruto remembered. "Oh, I see, he's retired, isn't he?" "That's right. Now I can't promise you that he'll teach you, but if you impress him enough then maybe he'll think about it," Hideki addressed Tenten. "He lives in the southern part of Konoha, you can't miss it really. It's the house that stands alone, away from all the other houses." Naruto and Tenten thanked the man and both promised to visit him in the near future. As it was getting late in the evening, they decided not to bother the old man today. Naruto promised that he would accompany her the next day after their team training. Both of them said their goodbye and returned home. Naruto smiled at her retreating back, knowing that Tenten was very excited at meeting the man. He doubted if she would get a lot of sleep tonight. A prank and good news. The day seemed to take forever for Tenten. Morning practice had been painfully slow, and even when Naruto proposed to have a Kenjutsu sparring match, time seemed to go too slow. The afternoon training with Guy and Niji was even worse, with Lee still not able to train, and practice Guy focused his attention on her, and his speeches of youth and its power were starting to get on her nerves. When Lee was there, he distracted Guy enough to reduce it to acceptable levels, and she was able to ignore it for the most part. Niji wasn't any help either, as he was always busy practicing on his own. Guy couldn't train him in the Jyoken, so he let Niji do as he pleased, as long as he trained his power of youth. Tenten was amazed at the change Niji had undergone since his match with Hinata during the finals of the Chunin exams. Before, he was always his fate this is, and fate that whenever he talked. Now, however, he seemed much more relaxed, and he even freely talked with Hinata, something he clearly wouldn't have done before. He had even complimented her on their match once he had recovered enough from the shock. It seemed that he had made peace with the main branch of the Hyuga clan, or at least with Hinata. "Alright, my two youthful companions, that's it for today," Guy finally said to end the training. "We shall continue to train our youthful body tomorrow." He then gave his customary thumbs up and a pearly white teeth smile. Luckily, Lee wasn't there, so Tenten and Niji were safe from the unbeatable Genjutsu that normally appeared. Tenten rushed to get her things and sped off to find teammate, and in particular Naruto. She had waited all day to go see the old man who might teach her how to create and forge her own weapons, so she was excited to the core of her being. She ran in the direction of teammates training ground jumping across rooftops so she wouldn't have to dodge people on the road. She made it in record time and found Naruto waiting for her. "Ah, there you are, Tenten. I've been waiting for you." Naruto smiled. "I'm sorry, Naruto, but Guy-sensei kept us training until 5 minutes ago." Tenten apologized quickly. "Don't worry about it. I got to work on my special project a bit, so no harm done." Naruto waved away her apology. "So are you ready to go?" Tenten didn't need to be told twice, so she eagerly nodded and followed Naruto towards the southern part of Konoha. They could have hurried to get there, but Naruto didn't seem to be in a hurry and she didn't want to pressure him. She was glad he wanted to accompany her because she didn't know anything about the man. Though Naruto said that he only met the man once and only for a short period of time, it was better than nothing. The house was easy enough to find, just like Hideki had said it would be. It was the only house that was separated from all the others, and it was pretty big too. Naruto and Tenten stopped by the large wooden gate and went up to the front door. The house was surrounded by a beautiful garden that had a large pond with several koi fish swimming in it. They had to cross a small bridge over the pond to reach the door. When they knocked, they heard a distant voice, and about half a minute later the door opened. The old man seemed to have forgotten who Naruto was, and he was pretty sure he had never met the girl before. "Musashi-san, do you remember me? My name is Namikaze Naruto, and we met in a Hideki-san shop a few months ago." Naruto greeted the man. "Ah yes, Naruto-san, you're the one who forged that sword with some of my leftover material. What brings you to my home?" Musashi remembered. "Musashi-san, I would like you to meet one of my friends. Her name is Tenten, and she's an aspiring weapon mistress." Naruto introduced Tenten. "It's a pleasure meeting you, Musashi-san." Tenten bowed deeply. She had a faint feeling that this man was a lot more than he let out to be. "Likewise, Tenten-san, now what can this old man do for you two youngsters?" Musashi asked them. "Musashi-san, may I ask you a question before we answer yours?" Tenten politely asked him. She got a nod from the old man and continued talking. "Are you Miyamoto Musashi-sensei? One of the world's most famous and best weapon forgers known throughout the shinobi nations? I would never have thought that one, as young as you would know of my accomplishments, but yet that's me." Musashi chuckled softly. Naruto stayed silent, not knowing what exactly was going on, but he could see that Tenten was shocked and she seemed to have shut down entirely. He shook her a little bit so she would snap out of it and laughed when she jumped from surprise. He knew that the old man was a famous weapon maker, but he hadn't thought that he was that famous. To have received praise like he did from that man was something that made him incredibly proud. "Now, how about you two answer my question?" Musashi asked them. "Musashi-sama, I humbly request to be taken on as your apprentice," Tenten said, falling on her knees and bowing deeply. "My dear girl, I haven't taken on any apprentice for decades," the old man said. "Why would I accept you as my apprentice?" He saw Naruto was going to say something, but he shook his head. The old man clearly wanted Tenten to defend her case on her own. "For as long as I can remember, my dream has been to become Konoha's best weapons mistress," Tenten said while raising her head, looking straight at the man. "I have dedicated my life to make that dream come true, and it means the world to me." When I heard that Naruto had forged his own weapons, I was astonished that he could achieve something like that. "I love weapons, but I've never thought about forging my own until that moment," she said before catching her breath. "I asked him to teach me, but he refused, saying that he is incapable enough to teach me to become a true weapon maker. When we asked Hideki-san, he refused as well, saying that he didn't have the time to teach me properly, but he told us about you. Please sir, I want to learn from the best. I want to be able to keep that tradition alive." Musashi had listened very carefully to Tenten's words, and he could see that she was serious about learning under him. She seemed to have a love for weapons just like he did in his younger years. To people like him, Tenten weapons were not only a tool to be used as a shinobi. They were extensions of their own body, and they were cared for like they were alive. He decided to have one last question before making his decision. "Very impressive, Tenten-san. Could you show me one of your kunai, please?" Musashi asked her. Tenten nodded and handed one of her standard kunai from her weapon pouch. Musashi eyed the kunai and was impressed that it was so well cared for. He could see that the kunai was frequently used, but there was no imperfection to the blade. It was perfectly sharpened and cared for just like a kunai should be. Inwardly he smiled, thinking that Tenten would make a fine apprentice and maybe she would be able to carry on his family trade after he had passed away. He would have to teach her as much as possible in the few years he still had left, but he was sure someone like Tenten would be able to succeed where others had failed. "Naruto-san, would you please leave Tenten and me some time to talk? I'd like to ask her some questions in private before making my decision," Musashi said, addressing Naruto. "Of course, Musashi-sama. Thank you for everything you have done for me, and thank you for giving Tenten a chance." Naruto bowed deeply. "Tenten, I'll see you tomorrow morning." "Thank you, Naruto. I'll see you tomorrow, and tell Anko-sensei hello for me," Tenten said thankfully. The next morning Naruto and Anko were discussing if they would stay at the apartment or at his parents' house that weekend. Naruto wanted to spend the weekend there, but Anko was a bit more reserved about it. She did want to live there eventually, but she thought that it might be a little too soon for Naruto. She remembered how he had broken down in his parents' bedroom after all. But when Naruto reassured her that he was up to it, she agreed to give it a try. Along the way the rest of the team had met up, and all of them were talking to each other about things that happened at home or during training. Kiba was telling Shino about how he had trained with his sister Hana the day before and how he had almost succeeded in using his new jutsu. He failed to mention that Hana had kicked his ass during the spar though. Hinata was talking to Kurenai about how she and her little sister had become somewhat friends again and how glad she was for the change in their relationship. When they reached the training ground, however, something strange happened. Out of nowhere Naruto got ambushed and he felt someone crashing into him, making him fall to the ground. The next thing he knew was hearing someone say thank you over and over again. He opened his eyes and saw Tenten looking down at him. She just grabbed him in a fierce hug and thanked him again. The others were looking at the scene with amazement before all of them turned to Anko. They knew that Anko wasn't worried about Naruto cheating on her or something like that, but no one liked having their lover hugged by another woman. They couldn't read the look on her face, so they all took a step backwards, not wanting to receive any part of Anko's wrath. Tenten was unaware that Anko was approaching her, as she was still too busy thanking the blonde. Naruto, however, was trying to escape from her hug, but she had a firm hold of him, and no matter how much he tried he couldn't get free. He froze when he saw Anko leaning close to Tenten and hoped that she wouldn't do anything rash. "Ahem, sorry to interrupt you, Tenten-san," Anko said with a creepy voice. "But I would like it very much if you could stop molesting my boyfriend." Tenten felt someone lean close to her, and when she heard Anko's words she seemed to realize what she had been doing. She quickly pushed herself away from Naruto and turned to Anko. "Ah, Anko-sensei, I'm sorry." She quickly tried to apologize. "I didn't mean anything with it." "Really? It certainly seemed that you meant something with it," Anko said with a straight face, looking very mad. "You looked like you were enjoying yourself." "No, it's just that I wanted to thank Naruto-kun for introducing me to Musashi-sensei," Tenten stammered. "Oh, so it's Naruto-kun now, is it?" Anko said, taking a step closer to Tenten. "What? Oh no, I'm not interested in Naruto that way. Please, Anko-sensei, you have to believe me," Tenten pleaded. "Do you mean to say that he isn't good enough for you? Is that it?" Anko asked her to take another step forward. Tenten was about to start apologizing again, but then Naruto put a hand on Anko's shoulder. "That's enough, Anko-chan. I think you teased and scared Tenten enough for one day, don't you think?" Naruto said with a small grin on his face. "Fine, but you owe me one. I was having a great time teasing her." Anko sighed before winking at Tenten. "Wait a minute, you mean you were just messing with me?" Tenten asked, secretly glad that Anko wasn't serious. Anko laughed loudly before grabbing Tenten in a headlock and started to rub her head with her fist. She then reassured the girl that she didn't mean anything bad with her teasing, but that it was just a great opportunity to tease her a bit. Tenten managed to get away from Anko and glared at the woman before joining in on the laughter with the rest of them. She had to admit that she fell completely for the prank and she wasn't really mad about it. She could see how funny it must have been for Anko to scare her like that. She vowed to Anko that she would get even one day and that she would regret messing with her like that. "I accept your challenge, Tenten, but I'm not too worried about it," Anko shrugged with a smile. "So Tenten, guessing from your excitement and the smile on your face, it's safe to say that you got accepted as Musashi-san's apprentice?" Naruto asked Tenten. The girl just nodded and told them how she had talked for hours with the old man about weapons, her hobbies, her dreams, and her goals in life. She told them that he was very impressed with her and that in the end he had told her that her training would begin the next day. This brought a round of congratulations from Naruto and the rest that made Tenten beam with pride. The other genin and Jounin senseis had joined as well and congratulated her on becoming an apprentice of such an amazing person. When they had congratulated Tenten, they started morning training and things went their usual way. In the hospital, people were getting ready for an operation on Lee. To date, Tsunade would try to heal his leg injury. It wasn't a really complicated surgery, so he wasn't too worried about it. Still, he was glad that Guy Sensei had been kind enough to accompany him to the hospital. He also told him that he would be there when he would wake up afterwards. What Guy hadn't told Lee was that the whole gang would be there as well to show Lee that they had faith in him. They wanted to let him know that he wasn't alone and that he had many friends who were waiting for him. When his leg had healed enough, Tsunade would attempt to remove the pieces of bone that were lodged inside his spine. She would have to perform several operations to succeed in removing every piece, and she would have to be very careful as well. She had told him about the risks, but Lee was determined to face the odds. It would take some time to heal if the operations worked, but he was sure that he would make it through. He refused to give up like that. "Are you ready, Lee-san?" Shizune asked softly. She was Tsunade's assistant, so she was asked to prepare Lee for the surgery. "I'm ready, Shizune-san," Lee said with confidence. "Guy-sensei, I'll see you in a few hours." Guy watched as Lee rolled out the room and sighed. He truly hoped that Lee would be able to continue his shinobi career. He knew how much that meant to the young boy and that he would be devastated if he had to quit. Guy had taken to the young boy ever since he saw him practicing like crazy just to catch up with his classmates in the academy. So when he had been chosen to become the boys' Jounin sensei, Guy had promised that he would do everything in his power to make Lee one of the best Taijutsu user in Konoha. Lee had surpassed his wildest imaginations when it came to learning Taijutsu, and Guy truly believed that one day Lee would surpass him. He had the fullest confidence in Tsunade's capabilities, but still he was worried a bit. It was a good 3 hours later when Lee returned to his room still asleep from the anesthetics. Guy immediately went to his side and sat down in the chair next to him. Tsunade entered the room and smiled at Guy. She was glad to see that someone would be there for Lee when he would wake up. She motioned for Guy to join her in the hallway so she could explain how the operation went. Guy nodded and silently followed her. "Tsunade-sama, how did it go?" Guy asked, a little worried. "You can relax, Guy-san, everything went perfectly," Tsunade assured him. "He should wake up in a couple hours, but the pain should be minimal. His leg will remain in a cast for a week or two, and then we can begin with small exercises so he can regain his mobility." "Thank you so much, Tsunade-sama," Guy said with a smile. "Don't mention it. I'm glad everything went all right. I'll let you tell him the good news, but remember, no training whatsoever until I give permission," Tsunade sternly said. Guy nodded and promised to tell Lee the exact same message when he woke up. Guy then left the hospital to inform the rest of the genin that the operation had gone well. Since Lee wouldn't wake up for a few hours, he didn't have to hurry, but he didn't want to lose time either. He was glad that the operation had been during the morning, so he knew they would still be at the training grounds. When he arrived, he immediately called for them to gather so he could tell them the good news. It didn't have to be said that all of them were very glad for their friend, and like they promised Guy the day before, they would come and see him later on in the afternoon when Lee had recovered a bit. Lee woke up feeling a bit disoriented, but he knew that was because of the anesthetic, so he didn't worry. He felt a bit of pain in his leg, but it was manageable compared to the pain he used to have just after he fought Gaara. He looked at his leg and saw that it was wrapped in a white cast going from his foot to above his knee. He frowned at it, but knew that it couldn't be helped. His leg needed to rest and heal before he could start training again. Of course, he wouldn't be able to train if the injury in his back wasn't healed first, but he swore to himself that he wouldn't give up until Tsunade had operated on his back. Hearing a sound coming from his right side, Lee turned his head and saw Guy snoring in the seat next to his bed. Lee couldn't help but be glad to have such a wonderful teacher at his side. Lee used his arm to shake the man a little, hoping that he would wake up. Guy, who contrary to his somewhat flashy appearance was an excellent shinobi, didn't need much prodding to wake up and sprung out of the chair in case he was attacked. Seeing that he was safe, Guy turned to his left and saw Lee smiling at him. "Lee, how are you feeling? Are you in pain? Do you need anything?" Guy asked, concerned. I'm fine, Guy-sensei, though I could drink some water please. Lee admitted. Guy nodded and filled a glass with water before handing it to Lee, who drank it in one go. I've got some good news for you from Tsunade-sama. Guy smiled at Lee. The operation went perfectly. Your leg should be as good as new once it's healed. Really? That's great news. Lee was relieved at hearing the good news. Just then they heard a knock on the door, making Guy open it. To Lee's surprise, all his friends entered the room. The girls entered first carrying a huge fruit basket with all different fruits. The guys followed close by, and one by one they greeted him and shook his hand. The girls even gave him a kiss on the cheek, making Lee blush like crazy. Guy was proclaiming Lee's youthfulness at finding so many girlfriends. This made Lee blush even more and yell out that Guy was wrong and that he didn't have any girlfriends. The rest of the people there were glad to see that Lee was doing fine and sniggered at both of them. The genin told Lee what they had been doing and learning from their senseis and said that they waited for him to join them, so the entire group was complete. Lee promised to do his best to heal so he could start training again. Here Guy told him that he was forbidden to train in any way until Tsunade gave him permission. Lee looked a bit down at hearing that but promised not to train. The other cheered him up by saying that he was plenty strong and fast enough. They would use this time to try and catch up with him. After talking for about an hour, the group saw that Lee had trouble staying awake, so they bid him a speedy recovery and returned home. While all this was going on in the hospital, Iruka was having a meeting with Tsunade in the Hokage's office. He had been summoned earlier that afternoon, much to his surprise, as he was teaching today. The Anbu that had come to relay the message had said that Iruka was to dismiss the students for the day and that his presence was needed urgently. After he told the students that they were free for the rest of the day, he followed Anbu to the Hokage tower. To say that Iruka was somewhat nervous to meet with the new Hokage was like saying that Naruto loves ramen. In other words, an obvious fact. He had a good understanding with the Sandaime Hokage ever since the man had helped him deal with his parents' death all those years ago. He would be eternally grateful to the man for his kind words and help. Naruto was another reason why he considered the man some of the greatest people ever lived. The Sandaime had always supported Naruto, and Iruka knew that Naruto considered the man family. Tsunade, however, was someone Iruka didn't know at all. Sure, he knew what everyone knew about the Sannin, but almost no one knew the Sannin personally. He knew of her history with the village, and he had been told by Naruto how they had met and how he convinced her to become the Godame Hokage, but that was about all he knew about the woman. Naruto seemed to like her, so to him that meant that she couldn't be all that bad. He entered the room and bowed to Tsunade before he stepped forward to her desk. "You called for me, Hokage-sama?" Iruka asked. "Ah, you must be Iruka-san. Please take a seat." Tsunade pointed at the seat. "I called you here today to discuss some of the changes that will happen at the academy." "Pardon my ignorance, Hokage-sama, but what are these changes you're talking about?" Iruka asked, surprised. There hadn't been any changes in several years, and he personally thought the system they had now worked pretty well. "Ah, of course, you haven't been briefed on that, haven't you?" Tsunade then proceeded to tell Iruka about the changes they would be making. Iruka listened very closely and had to admit that it sounded very good in theory. He was a bit worried about the practical side of the project though. When he voiced his concerns, Tsunade smiled at him. "You see, Iruka, that's exactly why I called you here. I've heard nothing but good things about your abilities as a teacher and as a person, so I believe you're the perfect man for the job," Tsunade said, giving him a thin envelope. When Iruka opened it and read through the contents of the letter inside, he almost fainted. "You want me to become the head of the academy and lead the program?" Iruka said, astonished. "Do you accept this assignment, Iruka-san?" Tsunade asked him. "I've been assured that you were the ideal person. May I ask who recommended me for the job, Hokage-sama?" Iruka wanted to know. "There were a lot of people who vouched for you, but I guess the most important ones were Namikaze Naruto and the Sandaime Hokage," Tsunade said with a smile. "Naruto told me that you were the only teacher at the academy that treated him with care and that he considered you like an older brother. Sandaime praised your teaching skills and said that you were a professional who gives his all in everything he does. That told me everything I needed to know about you." Iruka felt very proud and happy hearing that Naruto and the Sandaime held him in such high regard. He was glad to hear that Naruto considered him as an older brother, seeing as he always considered the blonde shinobi as family. That the Sandaime had praised him like that came as a surprise, but a very pleasant one at that. Now that he heard this, there was no way he could refuse the position Tsunade-sama offered him. If he did that, he felt that he would disappoint them too much. Hokage-sama, if you think that I'm the best man for the job, then I have no choice but to accept it. I'll do my very best to ensure that this project works to perfection. Iruka said with conviction, making Tsunade smile. Excellent, I'll announce your appointment as head of the academy tonight in a meeting with everyone who works at the academy. Tsunade clapped her hands together before she started to explain just what his new job would entail and what was expected of him. For 2 hours Iruka listened and gave his opinion where needed. When they finally finished their talk, it was nearly time for the meeting with the rest of the academy workers, so they left straight for the meeting room. Tsunade knew she would be in for a long meeting and sighed, hoping that this was the last meeting for the week. Little did she know that Shizune and Sarutobi had scheduled more than enough work to keep her occupied for the rest of the week. After moving into his parents' house for the weekend, Naruto was working through the assignments Jiraiya had given him. To Anko's surprise, Naruto immediately commandeered his father's office and installed himself in it. He assured her that he felt okay with it, so she didn't bother him about it. Naruto had been given several scrolls with things he needed to learn by the time Jiraiya returned to the village. He received a scroll for ninjutsu, taijutsu, genjutsu, and fuinjutsu, each filled with numerous assignments and objectives he needed to complete. Today he was working on fuinjutsu, and in particular on creating explosive tags. Naruto needed to create his own tags by figuring out how to make them by using the theory Jiraiya provided. Contrary to what people thought, creating such tags wasn't simple. It was more than just drawing a seal on a piece of paper. When one created a tag, they had to calculate the necessary size of the seal according to the power you wanted the seal to have. If you used a seal that wasn't perfectly drawn, you could have a small disaster at hand. It could explode too soon or too late, the explosion could be too big, not big enough, or it could fail to explode to begin with. That's why Naruto was busy filling paper after paper with calculations to find the exact seal he wanted. It wasn't something he liked, but he had already come up with another type of seal during this, so he didn't exactly hate it as well. When he finished his maths work, he went outside and started drawing the seal on a small piece of paper. He then created a kage bunshin and ordered it to apply the tag to a training log that could be found at the far end of his property. The clone nodded, and Naruto prepared himself just in case he had miscalculated or something. That was the reason he used a kage bunshin to do it. Until he was sure it worked exactly as he wanted it to work, he wouldn't use it in any way. Seeing that the clone had put the seal on the log, he raised his arm and gave the clone the sign to proceed. The clone turned back to the tag and forced some chakra into the seal. The seal burned for about 2 seconds before it exploded. The explosion, however, was way bigger than Naruto had wanted it to be, so even at the distance he could feel the heat and the burst of air from the explosion. It was so big that he had to shield his ears from the sounds so that he wouldn't be temporarily deafened. Opening his eyes, he saw the destruction and couldn't help but whistle. The training log had been incinerated, and a large crater was all that was left from the ground. Naruto was feeling very glad that he used a kage bunshin instead of going himself. Anko was doing some reading of her own in the living room, enjoying herself, when a large explosion came from the garden. She knew that Naruto was working on explosive tags, so she wasn't surprised to hear something being blown up. She didn't expect such a large explosion, however, and she became worried that something might have happened to her boyfriend. She hurried outside and saw Naruto safe and sound standing there looking at the result of his experiment. She went over to him to give him a good scolding at scaring her like that. He could at least have told her that he was going to try out one of his tags. "Naruto, what the hell was that?" Anko yelled at him. "You scared me half to death with that explosion." "Oh hey Anko-chan. I'm sorry for scaring you like that," Naruto said a bit sheepishly. "It seems that I miscalculated somewhere. I meant to make it powerful enough to destroy the training log, but something went wrong." "Are you okay? Did you get hurt?" Anko asked him to inspect him for injuries. "I'm fine. I used a clone to detonate it." Naruto grinned. "Good thinking there. So what exactly went wrong?" Anko asked. "I have no idea. I thought my calculations were correct." Naruto sighed. "Well, back to the drawing board it is. Don't worry Naruto-kun. You'll get it right eventually," Anko encouraged him. The rest of the few hours were spent recalculating his seals and testing a few other tags. At the end of the evening, When Anko finally had enough of hearing explosion after explosion, Naruto was forced to stop working on his tags. Nevertheless, he had made some great progress, and he was certain that he would fine-tune his tags in the coming days. They spent the rest of the evening talking and enjoying each other's company. When they finally went to bed, Naruto had some trouble sleeping in his parents' bed, but when Anko held him close, he slowly drifted away. The next few weeks went very fast for Naruto and the gang. Between training and doing some missions here and there, time seemed to fly for the young Genins. They all had made some serious progress, and most of them were very proud of themselves. The ones who made the most progress were without a doubt Hinata, Sakura, and Ino, thanks to their training as a medic nin. The girls had surprised both Tsunade and Shizune with their talent, and the three of them would be starting their hospital duty in about a month according to Shizune. That didn't mean the rest of the genin wasn't getting stronger as well. Proof of that was visible when you looked at Chaoji. He had always been someone who lacked a bit of confidence in his own skills and body, but now he was comfortable with who he was. Thanks to Sandame's words, after the invasion he had found his place in his team, and he worked very hard to become strong. He trained with his dad and his family ninjutsu, and he was becoming a tough opponent to beat. Chaoji had a large amount of chakra at his disposal, and he wasn't afraid to use it during battle. He and Shikamaru had also been working on joint battle tactics, and they had come up with some frightening combinations. Chaoji would force his opponent towards Shikamaru's shadow, making it easier for Shikamaru to catch them off guard, and once he had them in his trap, Chaoji would deliver the finishing blow. It has proved to be a very useful way to deal with enemies. They had even considered Ino's ability to invade their enemy's mind, so they were a team with excellent teamwork. Neji was also someone who had made a lot of progress thanks to the training he received. But more importantly, he seemed to be a lot more open towards other people and wasn't the same jerk he was before his defeat at Hinata's hands. Though officially the match was a draw, to Neji he had lost completely. Hinata had shown him that one can defy destiny and fate. It had changed everything in his eyes. He was very impressed with the way Hinata had fought, and he too was starting to create his own style of the Jaiken. It wasn't anything like Hinata's, but rather he reformed the original Jaiken Taijutsu into something that he felt comfortable with. He still had a lot of work ahead of him, but that didn't bother him in the least. On the contrary, it proved to be a very good way for him to relax and meditate. All in all, they were very happy with how things were going for them. They learned tons of new stuff, and they got stronger each day, so nobody had a reason to complain. Although there had been a small incident when it became known that Naruto had been officially accepted as Jiraiya's apprentice. Until then, the only ones who knew about it were Team 8, Anko, Kurenai, Sandame, Shizune, and Tsunade. When Tsunade informed the council, word had spread around Konoha, and it didn't take long until Sasuke heard the news. Flashback. Sasuke was returning home after training at his favorite training spot. He was fairly content at the way he had been progressing thanks to all the training he did. At first he had been skeptical about the whole team training thing, but it proved to be worth it. He had learned several new jutsu like Shunshin no Jutsu, and even that jutsu Naruto had made. He had to admit that it was a powerful jutsu that might come in handy one day. He had gotten over the fact that he couldn't use his Sharingan during the morning training, even if it had taken a while. The only thing he couldn't get rid of was his feelings for Naruto. Everything the blonde did pissed him off to a certain degree. He just couldn't understand how someone like Naruto, who was the dead last in the academy, had become so strong. Even when Kakashi explained to him that Naruto trained just as much, or maybe even more than he did, Sasuke resented the blonde for being stronger. At first he had thought that he would catch up pretty fast, but just as Sasuke progressed, Naruto seemed to progress even faster. It was infuriating to say the least. While turning the corner, he saw some of Konoha's biggest gossipers standing a few feet away. He snorted at them. He knew two of them were former shinobi, and they were known throughout Konoha for always knowing the latest news. He got closer to them, not really caring who or what they were talking about, until he heard the name Namikaze Naruto fall. Deciding that maybe they knew something that could help him beat the blonde, he approached them and listened to them. When he heard one say that Naruto had been accepted as Jiraiya's apprentice, he almost lost it. He hurried home, not wanting to cause a scene in the middle of the street. When he entered his house, he let out a loud scream of frustration and envy. To be accepted as an apprentice to someone as legendary as Jiraiya of the Sannin wasn't something to take lightly. Sasuke just couldn't understand what made Naruto so special that he got this honor. After thinking for a while, he figured that it was because Naruto was the son of the Yondaime Hokage, who had been taught by Jiraiya as a genin. It was, however, the next day that things got messy. The others too had heard the news and confronted Naruto about it. Naruto confirmed the news, saying that he indeed had been accepted as Jiraiya's apprentice. He also told them that he had been training with Jiraiya for a while now. Of course, this forced Naruto to explain how exactly he had met Jiraiya and what exactly he had learned from the Sannin. After he finished telling them his first encounter with Jiraiya, most of the genin were laughing at the pervert's misfortune to spy on Kunoichi. Well, the guys laughed, the girls were rather mad that a Sannin would spy on women in the hot spring. So basically he agreed to teach you because you're the son of his former pupil, Sasuke said dryly. Perhaps that was one of the reasons, but I'm sure that's not the only reason. Naruto agreed. If that was the only reason, he could have taught me one thing and left again. Instead, he saw that I was someone worth training, and that's why he took me as his apprentice. So you're saying that you're the only one here who's worth being taught? Sasuke said angrily. I did not say anything of the sort, Sasuke, and I'd like it if you didn't put words in my mouth. Naruto disagreed strongly. There isn't anyone here who isn't worth teaching, and I would never think that of any of you. You are all my friends, and I believe in all of you just like Sandaime Jichin and Tsunade Bachin do. Besides, I'm not the only one who's taught by a Sannin. Hinata, Sakura, and Ino are learning to become medic nin, so there will be a day when Tsunade Bachin teaches them personally. Don't think that you're better than me just because of who your father was. Sasuke stepped forward, trying to intimidate Naruto. He may have been Hokage, but he was nothing compared to an Uchiha. It took almost everything Naruto had not to knock Sasuke's lights out, but he managed to resist the urge. He knew about Sasuke's jealousy, and he could deal with it to a certain degree, but if he started to insult his parents, it would mean the gloves came off. Luckily for Sasuke, the Jounin sensei had heard the commotion and had intervened. Anko took Naruto to the side so she could calm him down a bit. She was glad and very proud that he managed to stay calm like that. Minato was, on top of being his father, Naruto's idol, and the person he wanted to surpass more than anyone. For Sasuke to insult his father like that must have angered him a lot. Kakashi, on the other hand, was lecturing Sasuke about insulting people like that. He told Sasuke that he was very disappointed in his behavior and that if it happened again he would take action. Sasuke just ignored him until Kakashi threatened to remove him from the program. Sasuke didn't like that idea very much and nodded that he understood. He did refuse to apologize to Naruto, however, and Kakashi let it go, seeing that this was the best he could get from the boy. End flashback. It took several days before the tension between Naruto and Sasuke disappeared, but eventually they just continued like before. Naruto pretty much ignored Sasuke for a few days, but after that he tried his best to befriend the lone Uchiha. But like always, Sasuke refused to open up to the rest of the genin outside of training and missions. The Jounin sensei had already accepted the fact that Sasuke didn't seem to be in a hurry to socialize with the group, but as long as he worked together with them, there wasn't anything they could do about it. They consoled themselves in the fact that the rest of the genin were a very close group of friends. Thanks for watching my video. Leave a like if you enjoyed my video, and also do consider subscribing to my channel for more awesome content. If you want the next part of this story, let me know in the comment box. See you next time. Till then, sayonara.